Welcome to Betrayal Stories. In today's video, we dive into a story about secrets, misunderstandings, and a summer that changed everything. This is the story of how one hidden truth shattered a family and ultimately brought them closer than ever before. Act 1. A quiet summer. Summer vacation had finally arrived. For most people, it meant beaches, barbecues, and laughter, but for me, it meant silence. My name's Jake. I'm 18. And this is the story of how one ordinary summer became the turning point of my life. My dad had left for a 2-month business trip overseas. My mom, Sarah, tried to act like everything was fine, but I could see the exhaustion behind her smile. Every morning, she'd wake up early, force herself to make breakfast, and whisper, "It's just the two of us now, Jake." But her words always carried a hint of sadness. The first few days after Dad left were calm, maybe even peaceful. I filled my time with books, music, and long walks around the neighborhood. But at night, the silence of the house grew too heavy. I started feeling like I was living inside a memory that refused to fade. That's when I began writing letters. They weren't meant for anyone, not even for my mom or dad. They were just a way to pour out the mess inside my head, letters I never intended to send. Act 2. The secret letters. It started with 1 page. Then 5, then a notebook. Each night, I'd write about everything I couldn't say out loud. How I missed the laughter that used to fill the kitchen. How I wished Dad's business trips weren't just excuses to avoid being home. How I felt like I was slowly disappearing in my own family. But the truth was deeper than loneliness. I was angry. Angry that Dad left. Angry that Mom acted like it didn't hurt. Angry that I couldn't fix any of it. One letter ended with words that would later come back to haunt me. Maybe it would be better if I just left too. Then Mom wouldn't have to look at the person who reminds her of him. When I finished writing, I'd fold the paper carefully and slide it under my mattress. It was my private ritual, my therapy, but secrets have a way of being found. Act 3. The discovery. It happened on a Friday afternoon. The air was heavy and still, and Mom had gone grocery shopping, or so I thought. I left my window open, music playing softly, and went for a walk to clear my head. When I came back, something felt off. The air inside the house was colder, stiller. I noticed my door slightly open, and sitting on my bed was Mom, holding one of my letters. Her hands trembled as she turned the page, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Mom," I blurted out, my voice breaking. She looked up, startled, then stood quickly, wiping at her face. "Jake," she said softly, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to read it. I was just cleaning but her words faded. We both knew that wasn't true. Her eyes searched mine, full of fear and guilt. "Is this how you really feel? You think I'm the reason your father left? You think I don't care?" My throat tightened. "No, Mom, it's not like that. You weren't supposed to. Then why would you write something like this?" She cried, shaking the paper. Her voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. I stood frozen. The silence between us was suffocating. I wanted to explain, but no words came. She turned away, pressing a hand to her mouth. That was the moment I realized my secret, my safe space, had become her heartbreak. Act 4. The silence. The next few days were unbearable. We lived in the same house, but it felt like 2 different worlds. She avoided eye contact, barely spoke, and when she did, her words were clipped, fragile. The guilt gnawed at me. Every time I saw her folding laundry or setting the table, I could feel the invisible wall between us. One night, I heard her crying through the wall. It wasn't loud, just soft, broken sobs muffled by a pillow. I wanted to go to her, to tell her everything. That the letters weren't blame, they were pain. But fear held me back. Instead, I wrote again. "Mom, if you're reading this, I never meant for you to find these. I'm not angry with you. I'm angry with how things turned out. I miss Dad. I miss us. Please don't think I hate you." I left that letter on her nightstand, not under my mattress. It was my olive branch. My apology without words. Act 5. The confrontation. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Mom hadn't cooked breakfast in days. I walked into the kitchen cautiously, and there she was, hair messy, eyes tired, but smiling faintly. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," I replied, unsure of what came next. She gestured toward the plate. "Sit. Eat." We ate in silence for a while before she finally spoke. "I read your letter." I froze, heart pounding. She sighed. "Jake, I should have never read the first one. It wasn't my place. I got scared. When I saw those words about leaving, I thought I'd lost you too." Her voice cracked again, but this time it wasn't from anger. It was from love. I swallowed hard. "Mom, I'm sorry. I just needed a place to put everything I was feeling. I didn't mean to hurt you." Tears welled in her eyes. "I know, sweetheart, I know. But it hurt to think you were suffering alone. You shouldn't have to hide your pain, not from me." That was the first time in months we really talked. For hours, we shared everything. The fear, the resentment, the loneliness. She told me about the nights she cried after Dad's calls, how she pretended to be strong, so I wouldn't worry. By the time the sun set, it felt like a storm had passed through our house. Violent, painful, but cleansing. Act 6. The truth about Dad weeks passed, and things slowly returned to normal. But one night as we sat watching an old movie, Mom turned to me and said, "Jake, there's something I never told you." I looked at her. Curious, she hesitated, then whispered, "Your dad didn't just leave for work. We've been having problems for a while. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to choose sides." My chest tightened. "Problems like serious ones?" She nodded. "He's been distant for years. Traveling wasn't just about business. I think he needed space, from me, from us." The words hit hard, but strangely, they also made sense. "So when you found my letters," I said quietly, "you thought I blamed you for that?" She nodded, tears brimming. "I was terrified. I thought I'd already lost your father, and I couldn't bear losing you too." For the first time, I saw her not as my mother, but as a woman, someone who'd been hurt, abandoned, and still tried to hold everything together. I reached for her hand. "You'll never lose me, Mom." She smiled through her tears. "Promise?" "I promise." Act 7. The Healing Summer. From that night onward, things changed between us. The house that once felt heavy with silence began to fill with laughter again. Hesitant at first, but real. We started new traditions. Morning walks, late-night movies, cooking disasters that always ended in laughter, and I kept writing. But this time, the letters weren't about pain. They were about gratitude, about healing. One read, "Dear Mom, I used to think our family broke the day Dad left. But now I realize sometimes things fall apart so better ones can form in their place. Thank you for not giving up on me." Act 8. The Return. When Dad finally came home 2 months later, I saw things differently. He looked tired, uncertain, almost like a guest in his own house. But for the first time, I wasn't angry. We talked, the three of us, and for once, everyone was honest. Dad admitted he'd been unhappy and confused. Mom admitted she'd been pretending for too long, and me? I admitted that I had been writing letters just to feel heard. It wasn't easy. There were tears, raised voices, long pauses. But underneath it all, there was something else. Hope. Act 9. A letter never sent. A few weeks later, I wrote one final letter, not to hide, not to confess, but to remember. "Dear Summer, thank you for breaking me just enough to rebuild. Thank you for showing me that love doesn't always look perfect. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness. Sometimes like pancakes on a quiet morning. Sometimes like a mother reading a letter she was never meant to find." I folded that letter and slipped it into a small box on my desk. Not under my mattress this time. It wasn't a secret anymore. It was a reminder that even in betrayal, love can find its way back. Outro. Reflection. Narrator. That summer taught me that betrayal isn't always about lies or cheating. Sometimes, it's about the pain we cause when we hide what hurts the most. But it also taught me something far more powerful. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's understanding, and that's how one secret summer changed everything.